Hi, it's Chris, and this is my review of today's reading for reading through the Bible in a year chronologically. And today was, this was a doozy. It spoke to me heavily as I read it, and hopefully I can capture some of it. But it was in Isaiah. We ended in chapter 48, but we started from yesterday's reading in Isaiah. Again, this is July 24th. Yep. Isaiah 44, we started in verse 6, and we went all the way through 48, verse 11. And we get it's awesome to see this section of Isaiah. This is the Lord speaking through Isaiah as his words, God speaking and sharing his words, and he's angry, and he's sharing how stupid it is to worship all idols, and it's stupid for the people to make idols, to make idols, and it's a travesty that they make these things. They use part of a block of wood to eat, to keep them warm, and to bake, and part of it they carve and try to worship it and tell it, this thing saved me. Where's the logic in that? It just makes no sense. And he just explains it so well. And he explains how he is God. His words through Isaiah: I am God, I am God, I am God. I can do all these things. I can make people give bad advice. I carry out the predictions of my prophets. And then we get Cyrus, the Lord's chosen one. Why did he choose Cyrus? Because he's God, and that's what he wanted to do. Wasn't that Cyrus is good, bad, indifferent? He just picked Cyrus. This is the one. I'm picking Cyrus. That's the way it is. Doesn't make him any better than anyone else. But listen to the Lord through Cyrus. Listen to the Lord through Isaiah. Listen to the Lord through Chris, but understand this is Chris speaking right now. Hopefully the Lord is speaking through me, and I'm glorifying God, but it's God that you listen to, not Chris, not Cyrus, not Isaiah, God. And we're hearing God through Isaiah, and it's written down as such. But it's so cool. What sorrow awaits those who argue with their creator. Does a clay pot argue with his maker? Does the clay dispute with the one who shapes it, saying, "Stop, you're doing it wrong"? What can clay do? It can't even speak. Does the pot exclaim, "How clumsy can you be"? And then can a newborn baby come against his father or mother? Can it say anything negative? How do we think that we can argue against God? We don't know. We get a glimpse of what he sees. He sees the whole big picture. And it's his desire that none should perish. He only does truth. He only does goodness. And he does everything to make sure the most receive that prize at the end of time. The Lord of heaven's armies. I am the one who made the earth, and I created people to live on it. With my hands I stretched out the heavens. All the stars are at my command. I will raise up Cyrus to fulfill my righteous purpose, and I will guide his actions. He will restore my city and free my captive people without seeking reward. I, the Lord of heaven's armies, have spoken. That's God. God can do anything. And he chose to come to this earth as a man and die on a cross. Live a sin-free life and die on a cross, paying the price for our iniquities, which I desperately need. Not one of us can go to him without Jesus. Because he says it later on. There is no other God but me, a righteous God and Savior. There's none but me. Let all the world look to me for salvation, for I am the God. There's no other. I will never go back on my word. Right here. Here's what I was getting to. Every knee will bend to me, and every tongue will declare allegiance to me. Every one of them. All of them. In Romans it says every knee will bow and every tongue will confess that Jesus is Lord. Doesn't mean that everyone will be with him and enter the kingdom of heaven. It just means that at some point it will just be unequivocally, it just will be impossible not to say that. And everybody will know at that point what their choice has been, why it is that way, and what the fate of their eternity is from that point. Now's the time to make the decision to follow him and seek him and submit to God. Submit to Jesus as Lord, as it says. Now's the time. Not out of reverent fear for God. Know that he wants us, and he wants us to seek him. He made us for him, to love him. That's what he's asking us to do, to love him. And yet we continually go after idols, whether it be a carved image or a made thing or a phone. Or I've seen people take even the Bible and use it as an idol. Worship the Bible and not the God of the Bible. Worship the music or the church and not the God of the church. Have more reverence for the God and God's people. Don't worship pastors, worship God. Don't worship celebrities, worship God. People will let us down. Cyrus will let us down. He's just a person until God says lifts him up, and he's still just a tool of God. So follow God. Here it is too. All who remain in Israel, and that really is us. We're adopted into Israel. We're adopted into Jacob, the descendants of Jacob. And it says, I have cared for you since you were born. Since you were born, God has cared for us. Yes, I carried you before you were born. God carried us before we were born. In the womb, God's creation. I will be your God throughout your lifetime until your hair is white with age. I made you and I will care for you. I will carry you along and save you. I'm going to skip ahead. For I alone am God. I am God and there is none like me. Only I can tell you the future before it happens. Everything I plan will come to pass. For I do whatever I wish. That's God. That is God. God is God. And then we see some of the calamity that will fall with stubborn people. We see the comfort that they've lived in. We see where Babylon was used by God to push his people into submission, where they had to cry out to God. He wasn't blessing Babylon to bless them. He was blessing Babylon to subdue the pride of the Israelites. Israel needed to cry out to God. And the only way that was going to happen was for their pride to be diminished. And the only way to diminish their pride was for them to be oppressed by another nation. And God used Babylon to do that in this time period. And he's saying, Babylon, you're no good. You are doing wrong. I just used you to subdue my people, to bring them into submission to me, to reach out to me, to seek me. Are we bowing at the altar of comfort? Are we worshiping at the idol of greatness around us? Are we falling into the trap of all sin there is no such thing as sin? Because we read every knee will bow and every tongue will confess that Jesus is Lord. That does not mean that everyone who lives will enter the kingdom of heaven. It just means that everybody who lives will understand who God is. That's what that means. It doesn't mean everybody's going to go to heaven. Worship the one true God. Know that his word is giving us guidelines to live by, to keep us in check, and that not one of us can hold it by our own, but righteousness comes through him, and it's a promise that we can stand on. His righteousness. He gives us strength for that righteousness, and we can stand on that. And that's pretty awesome, I'd say. I thought I had that highlighted, but that's part of it as well. Stand on his righteousness. Stand on the promise of God. Know that we can be there with him. Seek God. Know that he is all powerful.